All right, everybody. So, welcome back to another movie review from two guys, a girl, and Formula One. Glad to have you join us tonight. I'm with my son, Derek, and we're going to be talking about a movie that is actually, I feel like, is a pretty darn good movie that nobody's heard of.
Yeah, it is really good. We're going to talk about the movie. It's just called One. And so really it's definitely more of a documentary instead of a feature film.
Absolutely.
It was, I'd seen it a long time ago. I know that you used to watch it pretty regularly. So I think one of the times I came in and sat down and watched it with you. I don't know if I watched it all the way through like we did this time. But this was the first time I know for sure I watched it all the way through. So, yeah, it was really good. Definitely, I would say of all the ones that we've viewed so far, this is definitely the most unique one of the bunch.
Yeah, absolutely unique, and gives a really good snapshot into the history of Formula One and really how you know what struck me is that how in the 50s, the 60s, and really going into at least the mid 70s, Formula One was really an amateur sport.
Yeah, I mean it's like we've discussed in a lot of these conversations. It's just going back and seeing kind of the history of the sport, I think is really important for all the new fans, especially with, we always like to point to Netflix, but I think we got to point to the movie F1 now, which
Yeah.
I think, that being our first review, I read the other day, like, I think it's crossed well over the $500 million mark
Yeah.
globally. So,
Yeah.
I mean, fans are coming all about whatever way Drive to Survive, F1 the movie, here in the States, and it's going crazy. And I think it's important for these new fans to go back and watch movies like One,
Yeah.
because that really gives a history lesson.
It is.
Really about the sport. And so as someone that's been watching F1 their whole life, I learned a lot watching One. And one of the things that I pointed out to Dad while we were watching the movie was I feel like that the emphasis was so much on safety. And
In the movie.
in the movie,
Right.
correct.
Because there was no safety back
They
then.
didn't know what safety was back then.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, it's just incredible just what they have done to make sure that the sport is safe. And it's truly remarkable. I mean, the movie starts off, it's the 1996 Australian Grand Prix.
Yep.
And it was a massive crash. There was a massive crash in that race by, Martin Brundle. And everybody knows that watches the races. They all know Martin is one of the commentators now.
Yep.
Of course, Martin was a phenomenal Formula One driver back in his day.
Yep.
But I mean, Martin just had this nasty crash.
Big.
And I mean, you're just sitting there, your jaws on the floor when you see it. And Martin jumped right out of the car, ran back to the pits, jumped in the backup car, and he was back on the track.
Yeah.
And so I think really in that moment, because the death of Senna was so fresh, I almost think that was kind of a big moment in the sport's history where it was like, okay, is the safety, if you're, driving these cars that are so fast, and you're racing, wheel to wheel with these guys, is it ever going to be perfect? No. But I think after that moment, I almost wonder if, all the powers that be in the FIA looked at that and said, I think we took a major step forward here.
Yeah.
So, I say all that because the movie does a good job of really pointing out the safety from the beginning to, at that point in the mid 1990s, which, that was 30 years ago now. And so I think we've gone even way further now, and the sport is extremely safe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a couple of things struck me. I mean, they covered the fatal crash of Jim Clark in March of 1968 at Hockenheim, and it showed where he crashed. Well, they're going down this back straightaway. It's lined with trees. There's no guardrails. Oh, let me think about this. 150 miles an hour into a tree. Yeah, that's not gonna turn out well. And that's what happened to poor old Jimmy Clark.
Yeah.
And it's like Jackie Stewart said, when Clark died, everybody was like, well, if Jimmy can die, then the rest of us can die.
Yeah.
And of course, the death of Ayrton Senna was very much like that as well. It had an effect on his generation because everybody thought that he was untouchable just as everybody thought Jimmy Clark was untouchable.
Do you think, I guess my question is, so when Jim Clark passed, I mean, was there really the big push to make these cars safe after that?
Well, Jackie Stewart certainly started the process of ensuring that safety standards were met, and he pushed a lot for these Armco barriers, the steel barriers that, basically is very similar to what you see on the side of the road. But they quickly learned that while the Armco barriers would keep cars from getting into crowds and killing spectators, which is a good thing,
Right.
it really wasn't doing much for saving drivers' lives. And in some cases, if the barriers were installed incorrectly, um, it would actually kill the drivers. The barriers would get loose in an impact and literally would slice the driver in half, and which happened to Francois Javert, among others. And so they had to have a rethink. And now, of course, what we have are tire barriers and stuff like that. But I mean, even back then, for example, Jochen Rindt had his fatal crash at Monza. And why did he die? Well, because he didn't use the anti-submarine belts that go up between the driver's legs to keep them from sliding forward and having their legs damaged in a frontal impact. Had he been wearing the submarine belts, the conjecture is he wouldn't have been killed.
Yeah.
But it was those foot injuries that eventually led to I think he ultimately died of a blood embolism, maybe something like that. But anyway, it's stuff like that where they just hard lessons that had to be learned. And they showed how at the Spanish Grand Prix, which was held at one time in the early 70s in that beautiful park outside of Barcelona, they had gone and installed the barriers, the Armco barriers all around the circuits, where either they would just stick the bolt in and not have a nut on the back of the bolt, or they would just tie the piece of, the barrier itself against the post that was meant to hold it with like a piece of rope.
Wow.
And so they literally had footage in this movie of mechanics from the teams going in there with their wrenches, putting the bolts together to hold the barriers together so the drivers wouldn't, get split apart by these stupidly constructed barriers. I mean, the sport didn't have really a sanctioning body. Yeah, they kind of came up with the rules of what the engine specifications were going to be. Pretty much ended there.
Yeah, that was about it.
That was about it. And so over time, they started saying, hey, you have to have a 6-point seatbelt. And, oh, by the way, you need to have a roll bar that actually sticks above your head. You go and you look at some of the cars from the 60s, the driver's head's above the roll bar. How good is that?
That's one of the things that, watching this and watching Grand Prix, I was just like, I mean, their heads are so far up there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just, it can't be safe.
No.
No,
there's no way. And so, and of course, then there was the whole thing. Poor Derek got to see what it looked like when a car would have a crash and the fuel tank would rupture and the car would just explode into just being an inferno. And, a lot of drivers died of burns, horrible way to die, and so what did they do? Somebody said, well, gosh, Americans learned that you can put a rubber bladder inside the fuel tank of a Huey helicopter, and when the North Vietnamese try to shoot it down, if a bullet hits the gas tank, it goes in, but it doesn't go anywhere because the rubber absorbs it. And why not try that in a race car? And so they started doing that, and guess what? The cars quit bursting into flames at it was stuff like that, and so anyway, the sport's come a long way, but I just thought it was a really fascinating history lesson on the sport.
Yeah, and I think safety is one of those things that, they're always going to be changing things up for the better.
Oh, yeah.
Because we'll learn more as time goes on.
Yep.
And just continue to make those cars safer.
Yep.
Which is, what they need to do. So, another thing that I loved about the movie too was just the star power they had. Getting the perspectives of Sir Jackie Stewart, Mario Andretti. Who else do they have in there? Emerson Fittipaldi.
John Watson.
Yep, John Watson. Jackie Hicks.
Yep.
Lewis was in there.
Yeah.
Button was in there. So you had a Schumacher, of course. So you still had some guys, from, that raced back in the 50s, 60s. Well, I guess nobody in the 50s, but
Yeah.
you had
60s and 70s. Yeah.
for sure. And then, you had Emerson Fittipaldi. He was mostly in the 70s and the 80s, right?
Yes.
And I think Lauda made an appearance too, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. An old Niki Lauda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nike made an appearance. And yeah, and so it was really cool. You kind of had a good mix of drivers from each generation that were, really kind of talking about, their time driving. And I think some of those guys actually talked a little bit about, what today's F1 looks like too.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
it's always cool when you have a bunch of legends get together and talk about it. Oh, and Nigel Mansell was in there.
Yeah,
too.
that's right. He was.
Yeah.
He was. Ilioni,
Yeah.
the lion. Yeah. Love that guy.
Yeah. No, it was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. And I mean, I loved what Mario Andretti said. He said, there's days when I ask myself, how did I survive?
Yeah.
And I mean, really, I mean, that is pretty interesting. The other thing that I thought was interesting is they did a really good job of covering the whole Hunt versus Lauda thing in 1976.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you said that because,
Nice segue on my part.
yeah, no, that was great. We, of course, we just reviewed Rush. And so since, obviously it's like I said in the review, we've seen the movie so much, but it'd been a while. And when we went back and watched it, it was very fresh. And so, seeing the Hunt and Lauda, rivalry in 1976,
The real
I
deal.
mean, that was a real deal. And it, of course, as many times as I've seen Rush, I always appreciate it each time.
Yeah.
But then seeing all that footage and hearing Nikki talk about it a little bit, you're like, oh, wait, they did a really good job in
Right.
Rush.
Right. And a lot of like the quotes that, Chris Hemsworth said as James Hunt in Rush, it actually shows up in this movie.
Right.
And except that it's really James Hunt that's speaking.
Right.
And I mean, he was something else, man.
Well, and again, when you, see footage of Nikki talking and you see Nikki from 1976, it just makes you appreciate Daniel Bruhl's performance even
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I mean, he nailed the voice, he nailed the mannerisms. Like, it was just like, man, that
Amazing.
and when that movie came out, I think it still did pretty well at the box office, but F1 in the States is nothing like it is now. So it's almost like if they did a re-release of Rush today,
Oh, that's interesting.
how it would do, how the popularity would be.
Yeah.
And
I'd go to see it on the big
oh,
screen.
absolutely. And so it's like, like if they re-released it, I think a lot of people will go see it. And again, that'd be another good history lesson.
Mhm.
And I think Daniel Bruhl, would have gotten a lot more praise for what he did in that role as Niki Lauda because he nailed it.
Yes, he did. No question
It was
about it.
incredible. So it was cool seeing, the real deal as far as footage goes there. But yeah, no, overall, really good documentary. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
definitely recommend checking that one out.
Yeah.
I'd say of all the reviews we've done so far, which one's been your favorite?
Oh, because I like them all.
Oh, I do too.
I like them all.
You got to pick one though. I know what mine is.
I think I'm gonna have to go with F1 the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
Just the production values and I mean, and I'll say it again. Look, guys, I know the storyline is from somewhere between impossible and improbable.
Hey, I think you're gonna make it possible.
What? How?
You're gonna come driving F1.
Yeah, right.
You'll be the next Sonny Hayes.
Right.
You got it.
I've got it.
You can do it.
I need to start like throwing cards in a hat, and I need to start bouncing tennis balls. Clearly, I need to do something, man. That is for sure. Anyway, yeah, I mean, but you know what? Rush and the movie one, they're excellent. And I mean, you kind of got to. We watched Grand Prix, and isn't that interesting that we were just sort of like didn't even mention Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the story is horrible.
Yeah.
The footage is amazing.
But I will say, like, that is a good movie to like kind of skim through.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay much attention to the story, but what I would do is I would just pull it up, skim through it because some of the photography, like Dad said, just unbelievable for, a movie that was made, in the mid-60s?
Yeah.
So, and again, it's kind of a good history lesson for newer fans too.
Yep.
So,
Yep. No question about it. So, we need to figure out if there's any other racing movies that we want to cover. Part of it is Sabrina's going to have to decide whether it's okay for us to look at racing movies that cover something other than Formula One.
yeah.
That's going to be the question.
So, you don't think she'll let us review Ricky Bobby?
Ricky Bobby is a potential. Ford versus Ferrari, maybe. Oh, Winning with Paul Newman.
Oh, okay. I don't
That's a
think I've
movie.
watched that.
I don't think you've seen it, and it's been probably 50 years since I've seen it, so it might be worth it. And I tell you what, if we can find it,
I guess if we do Ricky Bobby, that means we have to do Days of Thunder too, right?
oh, I guess so. And I tell you what, there's two other movies if we can find them. One is called Weekend with a Champion, and it follows Jackie Stewart through a weekend at the 1971 Monaco Grand Prix.
Oh,
That is absolutely fascinating.
okay.
It was shot with a 16mm camera, one guy following him around.
Well, that actually sounds like, all joking aside, one that we should probably review.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. And then there's another one that James Garner did. It was a documentary called The Racing Scene, and it came out in like 1969, and it's not Formula One, but it's Formula 5000, which were Formula One cars that instead of having a Formula One engine in it, these guys went and stuck a 5-liter Ford or Chevy in it. Big, massive Detroit iron V8s. Nasty. And when you see them in person, it's like they literally shake the ground. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anybody who got in those things and drove them, crazy, brave, stupid, whatever. I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was about that. He actually went out and bought the one or two of those cars and entered them as an entrant.
Oh, wow.
And oh my goodness! And you look at the tracks here in the United States where they were racing them. Nasty.
Wow.
He also has a scene where he's racing at the 12 Hours of Sebring. There's a very young Mario Andretti and a very young David Hobbs.
Oh, yeah?
That's hilarious.
Uh-huh.
So look at these guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
So it sounds like we still have a couple.
have a couple that might be kind of fun to watch.
But hey, Ricky Bobby, he ends up driving against the Formula One driver.
I know.
I think it works, right?
Jean Girard or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, we may have to do that.
There's some F1 elements in there. It's almost like a podcast in itself, what's it like going from F1 to NASCAR?
There you go.
If only we could get Juan Pablo Montoya.
Exactly. Because he's about the only guy. Well, Mario actually.
Yeah, Mario did everything.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
And he wanted everything.
He wanted everything too. All right, Derek, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're getting ready to kind of go on one of our, we're all over the map here, so I guess it's time to shut it down for the night, huh?
I'm ADD. Derek's ADD because he's my son. Sorry, dude. And so, yeah, we're about to go all over the map. So, hope you all enjoyed this. Do go check out the movie One. I know you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really good.